Okay, good afternoon. We hope you've had some lunch and hopefully you'll be interested in the next sort of 30 minutes of our presentation.
Yes.
I'm Hannah Walton. I am General Manager for Access Group People Division.
I'm Verity O'Brien, the Global Employee Success Business Partner for the Access People Division. Are you going to do a bit more intro about who you are, Hannah? Go on.
I am. So basically about 30 years in the sort of tech product space. I've seen everything from on-premise, all the way through cloud, all the way through to SaaS, and here we are now at the AI transformation era. And so it's going to be an exciting time, but all through those eras, we've actually overcome many challenges. And so today we will overcome those AI challenges, and it's going to be a really exciting era.
Yeah, super. And my role here at the Access Group is a really important one in the HR space, where we look at translating ultimately what is an AI strategy into the HR organization and then to the wider employee base, because actually we are going through a fundamental change in how we are all coming to work, showing up at work, and we hope that this talk today will give you some practical knowledge and some inspiration for taking away and leading in an HR AI era. Super. So I'm in charge of the clicker, so apologies if it all goes terribly wrong in advance.
Okay, so we're just going to sort of briefly give you an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. So as many of you know, we're going through this AI transformation, and sometimes people think there's a bit of silos, that it's just HR, and it's also then sort of in the technology space as well. However, it is very much a business transformation, not a siloed approach. It's very much a joint decision where tech and HR are going to become best friends throughout this sort of whole process. We're going to give you some insights and some practical research that we've actually had done. We are going to tell you a customer story. Norse Group are going to be here with us today. Sadly, they can't be with us today. If any of you are going to CIPD, they will be on stage with us at CIPD. And we're going to use them as a user case to take you through some of their journey in terms of what they've been through. Globally, we have about 160,000 customers. So with that many customers, we see everything. We see the good, the bad, the ugly. We have multiple feedback, good and bad. And so we can also put all of this feedback back into what we're doing. Verity is going to be taking us through some research that we've exclusively had done for YouGov, and this gives you some really statistical information and sometimes quite surprising information of what we found and discovered through our research.
Super, yeah. So as you can see on the screen in front of you, we commissioned some research to really look at the AI confidence gap. So YouGov surveyed 1,100 employees and 503 HR decision makers. What that research found is probably something that we all instinctively know and think, but actually our workforces are ready. They are ready for this journey. They are not resistant, but what they are looking for is direction. Looking for direction from us as HR leaders, looking for the direction from their line managers and direction from their organization as to where this journey is going to take them. Over 88% of the employees surveyed in this research found that AI had at least one tangible benefit. I can definitely think about more than one tangible benefit, but 88% had at least one, which is fantastic. What the research did show, though, is that actually when it comes to decision making on really important employee lifecycle decisions, hiring or disciplinary matters, they definitely want a human still in the loop. Human oversight on those key decisions is really, really important, and that showed in our research. The barrier to AI adoption from the research is that it's not about capability of the technology, it's about trust. Trust between the employer and the organization and the employees within it. Only 25% of HR professionals surveyed were worried about AI job security for their workforce, but 44% of employees surveyed were worried about AI job security in the workforce. So there is a disconnect between what the strategic and the board level decision makers think about AI and how employees are feeling on the ground. So through the course of this talk, we will hopefully share some insight about how you can close that gap between what's happening in the organization. And lastly, I think I want to finish on that. Within all organizations now, it's really, really important that the CTO, the technology teams, the IT teams, and the people functions become BFFs. Because actually it is through that partnership, that collaborative working together, building of the frameworks together for the organization that will make a real difference.
Okay, thanks, Verity. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the Norse Group in their absence. So Norse Group, some of you may know, is one of the largest local authority trading companies, which is wholly owned by Norfolk County Council. 8,000 employees, 36 different partnerships. You can only imagine some of the chaos that brings. Public sector accountability means getting this right isn't an option. It has to be right. There is no rolling back, there is no rolling forward, there is one chance to get this right. By 2022, Norse Group had grown through 2P and had increased a lot of the hidden sort of complexities in terms of this project they were about to start. Every contract brought its own process. The systems and ways of working were multiples. So they ended up with over 1,000 different job titles, over 1,000 different roles. Contract changes, they were taking up to a month to do, and 80% rejection of some of those contracts. So to some of you, this may sound familiar. I know sometimes within Access, it sometimes sounds familiar. The query backlog was over 200, and actually it was taking them a long time to come back to those queries. 54% of HR's total time was spent on services with identified problems. HR business partners that were recruited to actually be strategic became purely operational. All of this, again, sounds familiar. So what we tried to create and what they tried to create was a senior management team that not just had HR and tech and all of the other departments. They wanted to bring this together as a management team so they could make the decisions from a business layer and really sort of top down. The decision, again, wasn't just made from one department. It was looked at holistically throughout many departments. Norse knew that the technology was going to enable the change, but it was the people and the humans that were going to make it stick. Yeah. So that's the premise of the business case that they took forward.
Yeah. Lovely. So this is how we went from fragmented to future ready. Project One was the name of this transformation that the Norse Group embarked upon in March of 2023, which does seem like a lifetime ago now, but it was, a couple of years have moved forward in the 3 phases. So what did we do? First of all, it was really, really important to manage the complexity of this change without disrupting the public sector services, because that is how Norse Group had built their reputation. They had people who relied upon their services, and any type of transformation of this scale, with the amount of employees involved, we absolutely had to get it right. So, phase 1, build the foundations. As I'm sure we all know in this room, we cannot build a palace on shaky foundations. So this is where we had to start, and this is what we absolutely had to get right. We looked at the launch of the People XD Evo. We then looked at the job architecture. As Hannah said, there were over 1,000 uncontrolled job titles. I'm sure everybody who has ever looked at that in this room can feel the pain when you have that experience looking at your databases. So we managed to get from 1,000 to 434 controlled, rigged, aligned job titles within the phase 1. A fantastic effort. Then in phase 2 came the core transformation. So these were the modules that included recruitment, onboarding, case management, joiners, movers, leavers, holiday. All of the division, all of the group's operating companies were involved in the core transformation project. Then, in phase 3, we wanted to move to a strategic capability. So it's all about insights and then growth. All about what we can do with our learning, with our talent. Payroll and absence were then put into progress. The next stage, as it says on here, was that because we had the foundations in place, our AI early adopter program could begin. So this was a collaborative implementation between the Norse and the Access Group. We worked hand in glove with them to deliver what was an ultimately transformational project in that organisation. Not only did we help support and give that organisation flourish, the opportunity for a dedicated HR leadership development programme was put into place. Project One also became an opportunity for those with career aspirations across the organisation to get involved, to show what they could do, and then as a result, several team members were promoted off the back of the Project One partnership. Where I want to really hone on this slide is that it's the shift from a transactional processing department to a truly genuine strategic partner, which is ultimately what every HR professional and every organisation wants from their teams. We want to be freed up to do the work that matters the most, and this Project One transformation enabled them to do that. It was an outcome that ultimately benefits the Norse Group to this day as we stand here talking to you.
Okay. So Project One made Norse really think about all of those fragmented sort of processes that they needed to bring together to then really adopt some of those AI features. So Project One was in place. People XD was being used as the core HR system, and Norse decided to join the Access Group's early adopter program for the latest and greatest in AI and really understanding what they could do to bring Project One into all of the personas they had in the company. You can't meaningfully adopt AI when the top level processes are broken. And this is what Project One, as Verity has explained, has brought into their foundations being very stable so then they could then build upon it. Many organizations aren't in this place, but as we're going through with multiple organizations, we're enabling this to happen and really bringing those processes together. The early adopter program exists in Access People XD because sometimes the complexities that were within all of the organizations physically just can't be sort of tested or through sort of a UAT process. We actually need to understand the outcomes and really understand what the strategic elements we're really testing through the AI automation. Norse's scale and the public sector context and the sort of the post-transformation and the quality of their data made this equally hard for them to really put forward. Norse tested a number of things with us in that early adopter program. They tested smart rostering, which is an AI-driven scheduling system. It's built on that 1 million of manual savings as well that they achieved through Project One. Policy and HR queries, as I rightly said at the beginning, via Copilot, answering questions instantly and locating documents is something that they tested as well. Absent patterns is something that they really struggled with throughout that whole sort of 2P environment. And what they did, they detected this through smart AI prompts, signals, surfacing trends before even they saw them. And the last one that they tested was the recruiting context. So what they were able to do is they were able to generate this contact fog sort of quicker and seamlessly, reducing the time to advertise and then also reducing the time to hire. The governance dimensions matters here. Norse operates in a public sector adjacent environment where accountability is just non-negotiable, as many of us also have in our organisations. How they determined which decisions AI informed and which always retains that human elements and oversight was a really big learning for them throughout the early adopter program and in Project One. HR and tech aligned isn't something that we're probably maybe used to, but is definitely a way forward and we need to get there. HR not issuing a policy, not IT making a technical sort of parameter around that, the two are working in lockstep. And I think as Verity has already mentioned, that CTO as the BFF is something that we really want you to take away. So let me talk a bit about the design philosophy at Access. We have AI built into the workflows, so it makes enabling what you want to do and the outcome-based particularly important and easy to enable. Customer data stays private in the ecosystem. designed to remove friction and surface insight, not, again, to replace the human. Judgment that employees and our research tells us they need to absolutely retain. There is a fear for all of us and for our employees that maybe AI is going to overtake some of that human skill. The early results of this adopter program are very, very positive. And it really comes back to that data that 44% of all HR leaders want to be in the strategic and not in the operational. The administration that becomes very heavy when we don't get the processes right are very much streamlined through that AI process.
Yep, results. So these are the scores on the doors, as they would say in a quiz show. These are the Norse Group results that they published off the back of the project that we did. And some of these numbers are absolutely incredible. So we had, in the first, net annual benefit of 1.1 million in the first year, and then that goes on to extend to 5.5 million projected over 5 years. That is genuine cost saving delivered to an organisation through this project, through the use of the software, through the use of the HR teams and the tech teams working together collaboratively. We reduced the average contract day turnaround from what Hannah mentioned earlier to 1.28 days. So that's less, just over a day on that percentage point. But actually what was really, really important for me and for the HR professionals in the room is that the rejection rate was down to 80%. The rejection rate went down from 1 month, and then over 80% of contracts went through successfully. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, we'll get to it. So the next one on the screen is that the HR to employee ratio went to about 1.19, and it was 1.159 when it started, which was achieved without any redundancies. So through this whole program, we managed to save the Norse Group a considerable amount of money. We managed to implement their processes, make the working lives better for their team members, and importantly, when we think about the AI anxiety, no individuals lost their jobs, which is really fantastic. And then a really other positive outcome is that 76% of new hires now sign their contracts digitally. So this was a phenomenal transformation for a large public sector organisation. We can deliver this now on mobile, and a signed contract was turned around within 1.6 days. So the processing time for your HR operations teams as a result of this was truly transformative.
Okay, so as we come to close, we really want to leave you with 3 particular sort of takeaways that you can take back. And really this has come from not just Norse projects, but we have about 50 in this early adopter program going through the same challenges that Norse Group had. So I think the first one there is you need to get the foundations right. AI cannot be built on fragmented systems, operations, outcomes, and processes. So in terms of that sort of lockstep between tech and HR, it needs to be surfaced, it needs to be talked about, and nothing can be not talked about in this AI transformation.
Super. So closing the confidence gap. You know, we look at organizations and sometimes it's very easy to oversee the changes that employees have to go on in what is a world that is constantly changing. What's true today might not be true tomorrow, and that's something that as a leadership team we have to take on board. Closing this confidence gap, where 41% of the employees surveyed were concerned about AI versus just 25% of leaders, is real data and is probably replicant in organizations that you work in, and you can probably think now about teams that you work with or areas and functions of your businesses that may not feel confident about AI. And actually it's our role, not the CTO's role, not the CFO's role, not even the CEO's role really at sometimes. It's the role of HR, of people teams, to lead the way in this transformation, because we understand how to get the best out of our people, we understand how to get the best of our organizations, and this is fundamentally front and center of our agenda at the minute.
And the third one I think we've said many times, but it is now time, if you don't sit next to those tech colleagues, or maybe you haven't sort of wandered over there, it really is time to get that narrative together and really have a very unsiloed approach. Everything that we do now has got to be in lockstep, it's got to be together, because those outcomes are so powerful. The actual efficiencies that we're seeing through AI need to be in metrics and not that human touch. So if you'd like to ask any questions as we come to sort of the end of the presentation, we are having some Prosecco on the stands, which is DD60 at 3 p.m. But we are around for the next sort of 10 minutes to take any questions that you have. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And looking forward to your AI transformation.
Thank you.